Jon Anderson, the iconic voice behind the legendary progressive rock band Yes, had always carried with him an aura of mystique. Fans around the world have long wondered what really happened to him after his sudden departure from the band years ago. Rumors circulated endlessly: health issues, spiritual awakenings, creative differences, but the full truth remained just out of reach. Until now. It turns out that Jon's story took an unexpected and surreal turn after his exit from the spotlight. Far from the noise of fame and the complications of the music industry, Jon retreated to a secluded location in the Scottish Highlands. What began as a short vacation turned into a full-blown personal journey unlike anything anyone had expected. He had purchased a small stone cottage nestled between two hills, surrounded by ancient forests, and for years, he lived there in complete anonymity. Those who managed to catch rare glimpses of him said he looked peaceful, often walking barefoot through the grass, carrying a notebook filled with cryptic drawings and lyrics written in a language no one could quite decipher. Locals began to speculate that he was communicating with something beyond the earthly realm. While this may sound like wild exaggeration, the people who lived nearby swore they saw lights dancing around his property at night, lights that didn't come from any drone or human-made source. Jon had always been deeply interested in metaphysics, cosmic energy, and the notion that music was a bridge between dimensions. In his quiet Scottish sanctuary, he apparently devoted himself entirely to these beliefs. Visitors were rare, but a few old friends who made the trek to see him shared that he was working on something he called the Harmonic Gateway, a musical composition said to open a path between consciousness and a higher plane of existence. Even more astonishing was what happened during one particular spring solstice. A shepherd reported that he saw Jon standing on a cliff overlooking the valley, holding a peculiar instrument that looked like a fusion of a harp and a telescope. He claimed that when Jon began to play, the clouds above swirled in synchrony with the music, creating patterns that resembled sacred symbols from various ancient cultures. But Jon didn't stop there. According to journal entries later discovered in a dusty library in Inverness, he believed he had made contact with beings he referred to only as the resonance. These weren't aliens in the traditional sense but rather sentient vibrations, entities that existed purely as frequencies. Jon insisted that they had been trying to communicate with humanity for centuries but could only be heard by those tuned to the right frequency, something he believed he had finally achieved. Some skeptics chalked all of this up to the imagination of a man who had spent too much time in isolation, but others weren't so sure. A group of acoustic physicists from Norway visited his old home and, using sensitive equipment, recorded tones that defied their understanding of resonance and pitch. The tones weren't just complex, they seemed to respond to the emotional state of those present. Eventually, Jon vanished from the Highlands altogether. His cottage was found undisturbed, his instruments neatly stored, and a single note left behind: "When sound becomes silence, I'll return." Many believe he simply wandered further into the wilderness, while others claim he ascended to the frequency plane he spent so long chasing. His whereabouts remain unknown, and no one has definitively seen him since. Though his absence leaves a void in the world of music, his legend has only grown. Unreleased recordings continue to surface mysteriously online, bearing the unmistakable mark of his voice and spirit. Whether he's somewhere quietly observing or truly existing on another level of consciousness, Jon Anderson's story remains one of the most fascinating mysteries in music history.